Welcome back to Relationshit. I'm so excited because today's guest is very special because we have so much in common. Well, first of all, okay, it's Hannah Brown. Hi. We have Hannah here today. She is from The Bachelorette season 15. She was Miss Alabama USA 2018, winner of Dancing with the Stars season 28, and now an author.
Yeah.
You have a book coming out.
Yes.
Tell us the full name.
Okay. My book is God Bless This Mess.
Love it.
And it's all about just going through like all the crap and trying to just get a little bit better each day.
Yes, which is literally what we were just talking about, how we're in a constant state of disarray 24/7.
Yeah.
Another thing to add to what we have in common.
Yes.
On top of pageantry.
Yes.
Which, so you knew me from when I was Miss Teen USA.
Yes.
And I obviously knew you when you competed at Miss USA.
Yeah.
But you had competed how many times before you won Miss Alabama USA?
I competed. So I did the Miss America system for a while.
The tea parties.
Yes.
I heard they have tea parties.
I mean, very grateful for everything, but it's just totally different.
Totally different.
And I just kind of jumped into pageants, had no idea what I was doing. I did Miss Teen Alabama USA. It was like my second pageant. Like, got second runner up. I was like, oh, this is really fun. And then I went to the outstanding teen because you get so much scholarship money.
Right.
Got first runner up in that. And then I went into the Miss.
Yeah.
And I competed for like 4 years a total. I can't really remember. And never made top 15. And then I won.
That's how it usually works.
Yeah. But I was so like just trying. I didn't know how to be myself. Like I kept trying I think when I was younger, I was doing well because I didn't know any better.
Right.
And then it was like people nitpicking me. And then I just lost myself in it. And then I took like a year off and then went back to Miss Alabama and won because I finally was like, I didn't have time to prepare for it. And I just went in and was myself.
And that, I feel like, is the entire idea. Whenever people are saying that they're going to compete in a pageant, my number one advice that they always ask, like, what's your biggest piece of advice? It's always to be yourself.
Yeah.
And as cliche and like bullshit as that sounds, that is what wins you the crown.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
will then take you further on in the next competition and just in life.
Yeah.
Because who wants to win something being somebody else?
But I think the whole thing with pageants for me is like you get in it, you're like, okay, how can I be better? And then you prepare and prepare and prepare. But sometimes through that preparation, if you have too many people come into your bubble, that's what happened to me. It was like, dye your hair, do this.
Yes.
Let me have your resume. Let me write it for you. And then you don't even know what to say in your interview because you didn't even write your paper.
Right.
But you see that works for some other people. But that was never going to work for me. Like, I'm a terrible, like, faker, liar.
Yeah.
I can't do it. And it's very obvious. And so it wasn't working until I just finally was like, oh, yeah, I'm just going to go in this and have fun.
Yeah.
See what happens.
Yeah. See what happens. Because what's your sign?
I'm a Libra.
A Libra.
But my moon is a Taurus and my rising is a Scorpio.
Ooh.
I feel like somebody told me that. No wonder I'm effed up.
They're like, that explains it. Honestly, anything with Scorpio in it. And then Taurus is our sister sign. We're both hard-headed. And then Libra is like, I'm a Libra moon. So I can empathize with the Libra qualities because they fuck me up every time. I'm like constantly in a state of trying to rationalize other people's behavior.
What are we, like peacemakers or something?
Always having to balance the scale. Everything has to be balanced. There has to be a reason for everything. Like there's always something bigger and a bigger reason, which is actually a good thing because it helps you. But then it's like sometimes it's like, girl, no. No.
Well, so I don't know. I'm like, please tell me that there's a reason why this brain is so
what it is.
It's got mess. I mean, like, I keep saying mess, but like that is just what I am.
Yeah. God bless it.
God bless. I'm always like, bless it, girl. Bless it.
Bless this
like
mess.
I need prayer.
Oh, so then, okay, switching from, because people who are listening, if we can talk about pageantry all day and understand each other, a lot of people listening probably have no idea what that experience is even like. But I know you have to understand, if you're listening to this, pageantry, while it does breed amazing opportunities and all kinds of things that like you would never even imagine, it also comes with like a dark side that a lot of people don't understand.
Yes. Very.
And it takes a long time. I am through therapy at 29 years old as of a few days ago. Yay.
Yes.
Working through and working out of some of the things that I learned in just a year and a half of competing and winning and reigning. It's a lot. Mm-hmm. So how did you go from transforming, becoming more of yourself, winning Miss Alabama USA, and then going on to be a part of the Bachelor franchise, and then being Miss Bachelorette, being the Bachelorette? Kind of. Same thing. It's the same thing. Like, how do you maintain your own personal integrity through that and like not change?
Well, that is such a loaded, and there's been so many like ups and downs. What I also started therapy like almost a year and a half ago. And
Welcome.
One thing that my therapist made me realize is my whole life has been just a series of competitions. I mean, pageantry. Then I went to the Bachelor. I was like, in big, like on big stages, and then Dancing with the Stars. Like everything in my life, I like think of it as a competition and comparison. And I think that all kind of started though. Oh, and dance. I danced when I was growing up too. Because like when you're in pageantry, like it's 3 judges comparing a bunch of different girls, and you're like in that, and it's hard not to. And so I think getting out of her while coming back in and like, why did I like doing that? I like because it was fun. I loved being on stage. I loved feeling beautiful, like getting dressed up. Like I tried to go into Miss Alabama the year that I won like that, of just feeling like this is just a week, like what, I'll lose a weekend of my life being on stage, whatever. And it clicked and it worked. And I remember going into my interviews and them like ask me randomly, they would ask like, so how have you done in this pageant before? I'm like, I haven't been in the top 15.
You're like,
and
well,
they're
let me tell you about it.
Well,
Not well.
Well, yeah. And I was like, yeah, but I also had hair that was the color of a potato chip.
Oh
and
my God.
Didn't know myself. So I kind of know why I didn't make it. And I think just being honest and coming so transparent helped me win. But for Miss USA, I went into my patterns because we have these patterns. Like I had a moment where I'm like, oh, it clicks. But that wasn't like a lifestyle for me.
Yeah.
And so then, and then just had some like ups and downs of just like life stuff come in. And so what do you do when you go into those patterns? And I just have been staying in this constant pattern of comparison, like always thinking like I wasn't enough, not worthy. How do I do that? What do I need to do? What do I not eat? What do I not say? What do I wear? How do I, who should I be with? Who should I not? Crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And I think it really took like during COVID for me to finally be like, what have I been doing? And which is interesting because people like are like, oh wow, you're so yourself, you're so authentic. Yes, and I had a lot that I had to process of what got me here. And I think you have to take time to slow down. I didn't have time to slow down. So I think it's the slow down that's helped me get back to who Hannah is.
Yes. Oof. That is deep because I think that a lot of people can relate to that, but not on the platforms. Like you said, you're in a constant state of competition on a major stage where everybody is watching you. And then you're trying to grow and become more of yourself, but also having kind of like templates of what a winner should look like in each scenario.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do you not feed into that? Like it's hard.
It's really hard to go into self-discovery when you're in a competition.
Yeah.
Like you had to have that time to like, I think there were so many times when I was writing my book, I was like, oh, like I call those times like baby hand, like before everything happened. I'm like, oh, she was trying so hard. But then even when I got kicked down a notch or had a success, I just got into another competition. I just wasn't ready yet in a way of like fully being able to do that self-work while in those circumstances,
yeah,
good or bad, that I was in. And it took finally, like, I mean, a pandemic for me to like be like, oh, do I like what's happening? Do I like how I feel? Do I like where I am right now in life? What did I just go through?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just been a lot. But I think the biggest thing that I've learned is, like, if you really want to grow, if you really want to change, like, you have to slow down to do it.
Yeah.
And not just be distracted all the time.
Right. Which is easy to do when you're in the limelight. And like, obviously there's like events here and there. And it's like, yeah, I could take the day to process my emotions and think about my trauma.
Not fun.
Who wants to do that? Let me go to this party, this variety party, which is where we met.
Yes. I wonder what I was like then. I always, when people say that they met me during that time, I'm normally like, oh gosh, I'm so sorry. I was not in the right space. But not that I was mean, but I think I was just I had no one here. I was by myself, and I was just being told to go here and there.
Yeah.
And I really was just in a kind of bad place, but it didn't look like it.
Do you want me to tell you?
Yeah.
Like, do you want me to tell you about yourself?
Yes.
No, you were super sweet.
Okay, great.
You were so sweet. But I definitely, now that you say that, I think I also felt like I was kind of floating around that place. And I felt the same kind of energy from you. Like, we were both there just kind of like floating.
Like, what? I don't...
Like, who are these people and what are we doing?
Yes.
Where are we right now? Like, I went there with my boyfriend because still to this day around LA, I can't just like go to an event by myself. When I was living in New York, I would go to all kinds of things by myself. But here, going to something by yourself feels like...
And I didn't know anybody, so I had to go by myself. And I'm like, help me.
Yeah. So we had the same experience.
Yeah.
more relating.
Yes.
Back and forth.
Yes.
No, it's that was definitely
so
it. But
hard
you were nice.
Okay.
You were very nice.
I feel like I'm a genuinely like nice person.
Yeah.
But I do sometimes think during that time I was very like aloof and like...
There's a certain level of anxiety too associated with it. And then on top of the fact that like that was, I think, right when the season had ended. Because I think the first thing I said to you was fuck Jed.
Yeah.
I think that was the first thing. I was like, fuck Jed, fuck Luke P, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But I understand also coming from like when I meet people and they're like, I knew you when you were Miss Teen USA, I automatically feel like it's almost, I compare it to being like a Disney princess. When you go to Disney World or Disneyland, we're in LA, Disneyland. When you go to Disneyland, you're expecting if I meet Belle or Cinderella, they're going to be this way.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not
Miss
Belle or Cinderella.
Yeah.
I'm the bitch from down the block. Like I'm that girl. So I'm like trying to give you the experience that I think that you want, but also trying to be myself, but also like, can I be myself? Because you know me as this person, so maybe I won't curse as much, or I won't like make a funny face.
Yes.
So I can only
feel
understand
that too.
It
like,
has to be the same.
Like, if you want that version of me, like you're probably going to be disappointed because like, I don't even know what that is that you want.
And you're not that anymore.
Yeah, because like I'm so glad that I've changed. I hope we're all like glad when we change.
Yeah. Let's go back. So after you are the Bachelorette, you have this whole experience. It's insane. All eyes are on you. And you go on Instagram Live one night, got a little saucy, and you were rapping a song, and you used a racial slur. You used the N-word. And after that, you put out a statement, an apology, a written apology, and then you went dark. Like, you weren't on social, nothing. Nobody could hear from you. Nobody could get in touch with you. I was calling you nonstop. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't have your number. But I was calling you every day.
You might have been.
Like, pick up the phone. I need to talk to you. No, you went dark and you took 2 weeks off from social media. And then you came back and you got on a live. And you talked about what you had done in that moment and what you were doing since then to change internally and not just give an apology. And I have to say, before obviously I let you have the floor to speak, what struck me about that, because I remember watching the live was the honesty and the ownership.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm someone who believes in redemption.
Mm-hmm.
And watching that, seeing the video and being like, oh shit, here we go again.
Mm-hmm.
And then watching your apology, I was like, this is somebody who is actually speaking from a place of truth and speaking from a place of taking ownership, taking accountability,
mm-hmm.
doing the actual work that we've been asking everybody to do, and coming back with new ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciated that. So from your perspective in doing that work, what do you think is like the biggest thing that you learned?
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you for all that. It was so interesting. Like when that incident happened was a week before George Floyd was murdered.
Mm-hmm.
So I had been taking all this time because I woke up and realized what I had done.
Yeah.
That's not an excuse that I was drunk, but totally. I woke up and I'm like, oh, fuck.
Mm-hmm.
And what I learned is that because I was white, because I had never even thought of myself as a part of the race conversation, I didn't have the capacity to handle a race conversation. And I now know, like, white fragility. I had every sign of like just I was crumbling.
Yeah.
Oh, people are gonna think I'm bad. Oh no, what am I? And it was about me. And I was not at the place to get on an Instagram live right after that, because what was I going to do? The poor white girl crying.
You would cry. And that's what I appreciated about your apology on the live. Was that you didn't give us the crocodile tears that we're so used to, because we would have been like, bitch, please.
Because that's what white people do. It's, oh, don't think this about me. Oh, and it's like, if you grew up in America and went to the school systems, like, and you're white, we have systematic racism ingrained in us, and you have to take ownership about that. But when you're crying, that wasn't going. People were going to start. Other white people were going to be like, "Oh, look at her, she's sad." So I couldn't do that. And what I did is I took some time to like process. Not that like I feel like most people know saying the N-word is bad. It wasn't that I had to know that singing. For me personally, I knew what I did was not good, but it was what it created that I needed to really process. And how could I really sincerely apologize in a way that, like, taking accountability and humbly coming to the conversation and being like, I don't know how to handle this, but this is what I've learned, and this is how I'm realizing how I can be better.
Yeah.
I hired a educator to really like put me through an intensive course of racial studies.
Yeah.
And it was intense. Like sitting in the discomfort that learning required was really, really hard, and getting really honest and realizing that I've never had to deal with any of this in my entire life. And Black people have to deal with this every single day.
Yeah.
And if I feel
tough.
if I feel that uncomfortable with this, like, one conversation, no wonder, like, what I said was hurtful.
Right.
And so for me, I think the biggest thing that I learned through all that is that it's not I think I used to think that talking about race was a taboo thing for me to do. It's not even that, like, I can't, it's like, I should. It's I have to, because if not, like, it's just creating this cycle, and honestly can create violence if white people don't come into this conversation and listen and be like, what can I do? I think that was the biggest thing that I learned just overall, is like, no, it's not like you're not being polite to not talk about race. You're actually like hurting people,
right? Not
talking about it,
right?
And knowing that, like, I'm going to mess up. I'm going to say the wrong things. And to be able to take that and be like, ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Tell me what I should have said then. Or tell me what I said that hurt you. because intention and impact are also two different things that I learned.
Mm-hmm.
My intentions were never to hurt somebody. My intention could be like, oh, that was funny. But what is the impact of that?
Mm-hmm.
And that was a big, big lesson of understanding that my intentions were not malicious, but the impacts of what I did were still hurtful and are a part of a bigger problem.
Yeah.
And trying to understand that bigger problem.
Right. I think a few things that you said in the live really struck me because I remember it was like the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting in my boyfriend's bed and I'm like, let me listen to what she got to say. Let me see what she's saying. What's she talking about? And you said, you were like, I don't want to be a part of repeating a history of white people not taking accountability for things when black people and people of color call them out on their bad behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh shit. Okay. She listened and she learned. She has something to say, and it actually meant something. And even the other part that struck me the most was when, because obviously I'm watching the live and I'm seeing the comments come in, and you have other white people who are commenting being like, you don't have to apologize. We know you. We love you. Like, why are you apologizing? It's not that big of a deal. And you said, if you support me, do not defend me.
Yeah.
And I appreciated that because, of course, as a black person watching this and seeing those kinds of comments, I'm like, it's not up to white people to defend you. It's not up to white people to forgive you, or because we see that a lot. Yeah. We see that a lot. And it's like, no, she wants to step up to the plate and make these decisions and do things the right way. It's not up to you to say, you know, that she doesn't have to. Yeah. She wants to. And that's good for us. Mm-hmm. But what's not good for us are the people in the comments saying X, Y, and Z.
So I went completely, like my team and everything, it was just better for me to just, I was working with an educator. That's all I did. Mm-hmm. Was not on social media at all. When I saw that was really upsetting for me because I wasn't asking for people, I wasn't wanting people to support me, defend me. I appreciate people who after the fact are like, yeah, do better. Mm-hmm. Show up. Mm-hmm. But not what I saw were being said about trying to deflect everything. But that's something that I realized that white people do because it's like the anti-blackness of like we as a whole, white people, it's also that good, it's like anti-blackness and good, bad binary of like, racism's bad, so we have to be good. So if anybody does anything racist, we know it's bad. But like, oh, you can't be bad. She didn't do it. She didn't mean it. She didn't mean it. And it's like, well, intention versus impact. Yeah, well, you know, I didn't mean it, but I can also hold myself accountable to like I messed up and I need to like own up to that.
Yeah.
But it was so interesting, like I read White Fragility, and that helped me a lot. Of course, I read from other people of color, their books, but sometimes it really did help, like having that book, White Fragility, that Robin DiAngelo wrote, because it was like an experience that I was going through in real time, and to realize that like, this is like a pattern of what white people do because we're not equipped to talk about race because we don't have to.
And you know what's crazy? I think that some white people listening to us, we have white listeners. Hey, white listeners, how you doing?
Hi.
I think that some people will be like, well, I'm not like that. So like, why do you say all white people? And it's like, take yourself out of it.
Yes. When I say in general.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's like, it is, y'all.
And it is because it's like
it is.
It's those like microaggressions you don't really realize you're doing, and just the systems that we're in.
Yes.
That if we don't realize that, if we don't question that, because this whole society is built for white people to be ahead and if we're continue to be in those systems and not listen to people of color when they're hurting in these systematic racism that we have, and we're not doing anything about it, but just being a complacent participant, like that's also that we're also part of the problem in that too.
Yeah. And in trying to defend yourself like, you know that there's a bigger system at play.
Yeah.
So you not being the one person who's not like that is great. We love that. We love to see it. However, like, acknowledging that it is a bigger problem, you may be an outlier and not trying to be a part of the problem, but also acknowledging the ways that you have been a part of the problem.
It's also deflecting.
Right.
Because we don't like to be called out. Even if a white person is not like that, it's our immediate reaction. What I've learned is to deflect instead of just listening.
Yeah.
And being like, humbly being able to see, oh, I hadn't seen it like that before. Yeah. Oh, that's true.
Right.
And not making it about yourself.
Right. So how is it now for you then? Because I'm sure, like, coming from a small town, Alabama, and having friends that maybe you grew up with, or, you know, in going through that experience and doing the work and learning all that you've learned and coming to the table with new information and coming humbly to the table with new information. And I appreciate you even being here talking about this, because you could have easily been like, no thanks.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not into that.
Yeah.
But I love the fact that you were like, no, like, yeah, I want to talk about that. Because even when I sent the topic to your team, I was like, they gonna say no. But you came. But like, how has it been now talking to like friends and family members and just people who are close to you about these topics that may have defended you during that time?
Oh, it was hard.
Yeah.
Because, you know, of course my friend and family like, well, I know your heart. And I'm like, I know you know my heart. But first of all, I have a platform and a responsibility with that to really make this moment count, to take ownership that I did. Like, can you guys see how I did mess up though? How, like, yes, my heart intentions were not to hurt anybody, but do you see why I did? And some of those conversations, I'll be honest, were really tough.
Yeah.
But who else was going to have those conversations with them? And that's why this podcast, I was like, I want to do this, because what I learned is that, like, I have to do these. Like, I've been like, this terrible, as terrible as it was, and as, you know, hurtful as it was for other people, and how it was not my best moment for me, to take that situation and that one mistake and make it a blessing and something that I can really learn from, and help other white people who are following me for something totally different be able, maybe it's the only conversation they'll ever hear about race. And that's what I have to, like, that's where I think I step in, is being the white girl from Alabama, who, you know, Southern girl who's stepping up and being like, yeah, let's have this conversation. And I might say something wrong, but I want to learn, and tell me how I can be better. Yeah. And really just trying to be a voice, and then also a partner, truly, like, not just like my own voice, but like a partner that can help show up and show how other people how to show up, even when you don't think you're supposed to be a part of the conversation.
Yeah.
So I'm trying my best.
You're doing amazing,
and the
sweetie.
thing is, it's like, I know I'm probably gonna mess up, and I'm like, but that's where I learned the most.
Yeah.
I'm excited that I was a part of this too.
Yeah.
So.
No, I'm so glad, because I think one of the things that I was talking to even my white friends about over the past 2.5 years, because that was kind of when we were really forced to have a lot of these conversations, is I need you to be that voice when I'm not there, because I'm not always going to be there, and people that look like me aren't always going to be there. So if you're in that one meeting where they're deciding on something and it's 20 white people at a table and there's not one black voice in the room, I need for you to be that one white voice to be like, why aren't there any black people here? Because that in itself provides a seat at the table that wouldn't have been there otherwise, if everyone's just looking around at each other being like, this is fine. It's like that meme where it's like, this is fine and the whole house is on fire. It's like, no, it's not fine. Yeah. And it shouldn't be normalized. And we should have more voices in the room. It's like if a seat of 20 men are at a table deciding, you know, what we're going to use for the next tampon applicator. It's like, what the fuck do you know?
Yeah.
Like, you know, we have to make sure that we're creating a space where everybody can feel seen. And I appreciate the fact that you are taking kind of the lead in being a voice for those people, for other, Southern belles that are following you that probably have, had the same life experience as you have, at least as far as environment, and never having to have those conversations. And now you're able to be like, check out this book, and they'll actually listen to you.
Yeah.
That's an amazing, that's how you use your influence.
Yeah, because a lot of people about the book, like, I have people be like, you're going to write about that in the book? Like, you're not just going to brush it under the rug? I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Of course I'm going to. And I go into, like, yes, how I felt as, the book is about my life, and I go into the whole process of what was actually happening, but, like, also, like, the steps that I'm continuing to do. And I think it's going to really, like, like you said, some Southern belles are going to like, oh, I want to read about Hannah Brown, the Bachelorette. And then they're going to, have this part of this chapter where they're maybe for the first time going to hear or be like, what was actually going on, and really be able to maybe just start thinking a little bit different. And you know what else I was, one of the other biggest things that I like realized is, I have Black friends, but I never thought I should talk, like, I didn't know that if I should bring up, like, when something like, hey, is there something, like, how does it feel right now? To realize that, like, I can have more in-depth conversations about race with my friends. I feel like it was always surface level.
Yeah. Well, because I think a lot of white people think of, like, one thing that I've gotten from a ton of white friends, even growing up, middle school, high school, is like, I don't think of you like that.
Oh, the colorblind thing.
Oh my God. I don't see color. It's like there's nothing wrong. I want you to see color. Okay. I need you to see color, because if you don't see color, then you don't see my experience.
Yeah.
You don't see my life. You don't see what I have to go through. And there are so many beautiful colors out there. Why would you not want to see them?
Yeah.
Like that's how I see it. Or like, I don't think of you like that. Like what?
Like what?
What does that mean when you say that? And even for me as a Black woman who grew up in predominantly white spaces and went to predominantly white institutions and grew up in an area that's predominantly Jewish, and like a lot of the people that I went to school with were white. Thinking about the fact that I had so many opportunities to teach lessons, but did not even have the tools myself, or the courage myself, or sometimes even the energy myself. To stand up in situations like that, where now in my late 20s 29 woo, I'm now looking at these situations different. I'm looking at microaggressions different. I'm looking at every opportunity where I might have been like, you know what, I just don't have the energy for that today. I'm just gonna let that slide. To actually, no, I'm not.
It's also not just your weight to carry. Like, your white friends have to show up for you. Like, a real friend's gonna, like, you're not gonna have the energy. Yeah. So that's like that's what I learned, like, from, I was like, with my educator, I was like, I'm just so exhausted, and like, think about what it's like living every day, having to think and process this information. I was like, wow. Yeah. Like, that's when I was like, my privilege is just being able to walk around as a white person. It is just, my energy level is like 10 times more. Yeah. We're starting, the race more ahead. Yeah. Just in walking around.
Yeah. Listen, girl, it must be nice. Sometimes we just think, Black people will be like, damn, it must be nice. But you know what? That's a part of the experience. And I just appreciate when white people actually start taking accountability for these things and trying to learn. So we have a bunch of people who wrote in and have questions about, kind of how to handle certain situations. And, I think kind of, even if we can't be necessarily like straightforward guidance necessarily, I think that there's just something to learn about having conversations like this. So if any of what I just said just made any sense, we'll see. Okay. This is from, just kidding, anonymous. See, I have to check the whole thing. Okay. My ex-best friend was white, and our friendship ended over a huge disagreement over Black Lives Matter and police brutality last year during the height of the movement. I ended this friendship because what kind of person is understanding of police brutality but not the killing of Black lives? Girl, don't even come for me, LOL. I already know. I sure know how to pick them. I don't want to become friends again. I'm 100% okay with that. It's just annoying when the memories flood in and I get sad. We were friends since the 8th grade, and next year is our 10-year reunion, to put it in perspective. So that was it wasn't like necessarily a question, but for people who are having difficult conversations, what kind of is your tip for white people who are hearing for the first time from their Black friend that like something you said hurt me, or you did something that I don't like, or this is what I'm experiencing in my life? Can you not necessarily relate? I don't expect for white people to relate to Black issues or racial issues, but to have a certain level of understanding and empathy, I think, is important. So what are your tips for white people? Well, as the white spokesperson of America, what kind of are your tips for people who are hearing these things for the first time?
Well, coming from it from a different perspective, but it's not, when you hear that, it's not to bring your perspective in first. It's to have that empathy and be like, I'm so sorry you're feeling this way, and listen. What I learned is like you have to like take a second, take it in, be like, I can't quite understand that myself, but like I believe you. I can't, and you can't even say like, if the thing is, you can't say I can't feel your pain. I don't know your struggles, but I'm here with you, and what can I do to help you? How can I be here for you? And not, oh, see, I saw it this way. That's not how you start.
My uncle was a police officer.
Yeah, that's not.
Nobody wants to talk about your uncle.
No. Oh, I really didn't want to. But I think that's where I have realized, like, it's just to take a minute, pause, be like, I can't understand, but I want to be here to listen and be a friend to you right now. Yeah. I don't know if I'm going to say the right thing, but it's still trying. And I think that's the best way that and I'm still learning. I'm not going to say I'm like, that's why I'm like, I'm still trying to figure this out. But I think it's more just to listen and be like, man, I can't imagine. And like really process like what somebody's saying, especially like Black Lives Matter. It's like, regardless of where what spectrum, like where you're coming from in this conversation, like people are scared for their life. And have some empathy for that before you start coming in with your opposing view.
About White Lives Matter too. It's like, yeah, we are well aware.
Yeah.
We know.
So I think it's just that space of like taking it in, saying I'm here for you. Yeah. And it doesn't, I think it's really hard because you can't really relate, and being like, I can't relate, but like I'm here for you, and how can I show up for you? Yeah. And I don't know. Yeah. That's what I would do.
I think that makes a lot of sense, because
what would you say? Well,
I would have said the same if I
what
were.
Would you
if
want?
I were
yeah,
white.
I was like, what would you want your white friends to do?
I would want for them to just listen. Like, I would just want you to listen and not insert your experience with police, because that's not my experience with police. And I remember one time I actually got stopped in Alabama. The scariest experience. I was coming back from Miss Alabama USA. I went to the pageant. I was driving back from the pageant. It was like 2:00 in the morning. I was exhausted. I literally had my gown on and some sweatpants and my glasses. And I'm driving home with my friend, my Black friend. We're driving back to Tuscaloosa because I went to the University of Alabama my freshman year.
Oh, I was like, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Grand reveal.
So I know where you were driving from on that.
Yes. From Mobile.
Yes.
Back. And I'm on that like one highway.
That one road. It's like this. Yes.
Yes. And it's 2:00 in the morning, and I was speeding. I was definitely speeding. It was like it was a 70, I was going 95 in a 70. Yeah. I was definitely speeding. But I wanted to get home because I was so tired. I had class the next morning. I shouldn't have been speeding. Whatever. Anyway, so I'm driving, get pulled over. I'm like literally shaking, like near tears, is a white police officer. I saw him come out of the car, and my friend is shaking. We're literally holding hands, and it's just the overwhelming fear. Whereas if you were driving down that same road, you probably wouldn't feel that. You'd be like, oh shit, I'm about to get a ticket.
I would be like, oh my, you know what I would do? And this shows my white privilege. I would have started crying. Yeah. I would have been like, yes. Bring the tears.
Yes, exactly. Like, I miss Alabama, USA. Yeah. He wouldn't have given a shit. Yeah. Except for the fact that he could not have been nicer. He was the nicest cop. He literally came over and was like, girl, where are you going so fast? Why are you driving so fast? I should give you a ticket. You were going like 95. You got to slow down. And he was like, where are you going? You look really nice. But even just having that moment of relief is something, and the jitters that I felt even afterwards driving home is something that white people can't relate to. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't be able to relate to that. And I don't want you to experience that because it's not a good feeling. But it's like just taking the time to sit back and be like, that would never be my experience. And because of that, let me just listen to you. Yeah. And let me just hear what you have to say. That would be what I would want.
Yeah. Okay.
Just like how you just did.
Great.
That's what I would want. That's exactly what I would want. So we had another one from someone, but it's kind of the same thing. Basically, she was saying that her best friend is getting married in November, and they were looking for fall decor, and she had basically said that she wanted to have raw cotton in her wedding. Her friend is white. She's black, the person writing in. And she basically told her that made her feel uncomfortable to have raw cotton as decor for obvious reasons. Mm-hmm. And her friend kicked her out of the wedding and told her that she didn't want her to be a bridesmaid anymore, which has to hurt. That has to hurt. But it goes back to the idea that when your black friends come to you with something, you can't just sit and take it. It's like, but I didn't do that. And like, I love cotton. And it's just like, what? It's just like, just take a moment outside of yourself. The same way you would for anything else. If somebody came to you and said, something you said hurt me, you would want to just take a moment and really feel that and think about ways that you could do something differently. The same way you would for anybody else that you care about. With your black friends, when they're talking about race things, you got to do the same thing. Yeah. Take yourself out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I just think I feel like I just see that interaction, and I think sometimes that catches white, especially before this past 2 years, it catches white people off guard. Like, what?
Yeah. What? Cotton, what? There's a problem? What? Plantation wedding? Yeah. What? That's a problem too? It's like it's like, just like having that stillness of like, ooh, okay. It's not my intention to hurt you. I now get why I did. I see the impact of having cotton at my wedding, how that could, stir up some emotions. Yes.
And I see you and I hear you.
And it's also like, choose the hill that you want to die on. Do you really want to die on the hill of having raw cotton at the wedding?
That's kind of
just really? Cut it out. Just cut it out. Try and lose a friendship. Floral. Try a nice floral arrangement. I think that would be better suited.
I like flowers way more than cotton. Flowers. I'm going to be honest.
Same, exactly. Same. But yeah, I think that that's the gist. I mean, people are going to be listening to this. Your book comes out November 23rd, and this episode is going to come out around the same time, which will be around the holidays.
Yeah.
So obviously we want people to buy the book. Where can they get the book?
They can get the book at
Amazon.
I mean, I was going to say, it's like Amazon's, Target, Walmart, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million.
Perfect.
Wherever books are sold.
Yes, love that.
I'm like,
wherever you can find your books, go get your books.
But I have a link in my bio where you can buy the books, and it'll have the list of all the places.
Perfect.
That you can get it. Yeah.
Perfect. So obviously we want them to get the book, but we also want for you to listen to this and take these tools with you into having those tough conversations over the holidays, because we know, like, you're going to
sitting at the dinner table at Thanksgiving, Christmas, something will be, Something's gonna be said.
Something's gonna come up. Something's gonna come up. And like, even the idea of like, you know, we did the episode about talking to your family, but with your friends, even some of your hometown friends, like maybe you moved to the big city and like now you're going back to your small town, and you're gonna have those conversations with your friends, and even just every day, even coworkers and different relationships. Like, microaggressions can happen anywhere. There's always an opportunity to stand up for people of color.
Yeah.
And there's always an opportunity to act as an ally and show allyship in different ways that you may not even realize is possible. So I'm so happy that you came. I'm so glad that we had this conversation. Yes. I hope it wasn't, you know, too crazy.
I don't know. It was great. I think it was great. I mean, it's a lot of like the learning takes place in like one of my other things. A lot of learning takes place like behind. It's not always just post on, every time you open a book you post on your Instagram. It happens at home and behind the doors. And so to be able to have conversations, I think is also necessary too when you are doing the work to be able to show up in all different ways. So I'm excited that I was able to be a part of the conversation.
Yeah. And this was an easier one only because you did the work already. Yeah. But they're not always going to be easy.
Oh, I mean, it's not. It's still, uncomfortable because I haven't had the capacity to deal with it my entire life. And that's on my privilege to be white. But just because it's difficult or might be uncomfortable, like, okay, we still, like, if I say I want to be an ally, I want to get better, then you got to show up and you got to do it. And you got to get it wrong and try to be better the next time. So I'm glad that I could come on here and maybe get it wrong, try to get it right, and get better as we move forward.
Amen. God bless.
God bless it.
God bless this mess.
Yes.
God bless this podcast. God bless you, Hannah Brown. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm Kamie Crawford, host of the Relationshit podcast. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video and want to see more videos, click below to subscribe and like this video for more Dear Media content. So shut up and listen.